It has been over a week since Poles decided that Karol Nawrocki would be the president of our country. However, politicians from Donald Tusk's team still refuse to accept this decision. They are looking for a way to invalidate the results of the democratic elections. The Extraordinary Control Chamber confirms the validity of the elections, and all participants in public life say, wait a minute, but this chamber should not rule at all, because it is not a court within the meaning of the Constitution. So the question arises as to what the Marshal of the Sejm should do in such a situation, because it will be up to him to make the final decision at the end of this process. Not true. The decision rests solely with the Polish people, and there is no legal way to challenge it. The attempt to destabilize the presidential election results by Adam Bodnar and other lawyers from the current government coalition has no support in European law and jurisprudence. There is no ruling by either the Court of Justice of the European Union or the European Court of Human Rights, stating that we are dealing with neo-judges who are not judges, that these are people who are not authorized to adjudicate. The problem is that Donald Tusk and his people have already accustomed us to interpreting the law according to their own interests. This resolution goes to the Marshal of the Sejm, the National Electoral Commission, and the Prime Minister, who must publish the resolution in the Journal of Laws. And now, should the Prime Minister publish it, and if so, should he publish it with an appropriate annotation expressing doubts about this chamber? And secondly, what should the Marshal of the Sejm, Szymon Hołownia, do with it? Should he recognize that the chamber is functioning when he himself had many doubts about it earlier? This time, they must not be allowed to do so, appeals Polish President Andrzej Duda, among others, to Poles. Attention! It seems that the post-communists, in cahoots with the liberal left, want to overturn the recent presidential election in Poland and take away our freedom of choice. Let's not give in, voters. Let's not allow them to take away what remains of democracy and freedom after December 13th, 2023. Let's keep an eye on Poland. Over the past week, Tusk's people have also been pushing the narrative of alleged errors in the vote count. However, even Ryszard Kalisz, a member of the National Electoral Commission who sympathizes with the government, has already refuted this. I don't think that the scale, from the information I have, exceeded a few thousand. And let's remember that there was a difference of about 360,000 votes between Rafał Trzaskowski and Karol Nawrocki. For this to have an impact on the election result, there must be at least 180,000. Yesterday, Kalisz announced a special meeting of the National Electoral Commission on this matter. An informal meeting of the members of the National Electoral Commission was convened, but there was no official meeting. The National Electoral Commission is not planning a meeting on Monday to discuss possible errors in the protocols of the precinct commissions after the presidential election. However, Ryszard Kalisz wants the National Electoral Commission to thoroughly investigate all reported irregularities. I am not prejudging anything. I am one of the members of the National Electoral Commission who wants to vote on the National Electoral Commission report in a fully conscious and responsible manner. What is the point of all this? According to experts, it is about mobilizing and keeping up the spirits of the December 13th coalition's part of the electorate, which is most blinded by liberal leftist propaganda. It seems that this is the only effect that can be achieved, given that the whole world, including Ursula von der Leyen, has accepted Karol Nawrocki's election and congratulated him. One of the first world leaders to congratulate Karol Nawrocki on his election victory was U.S. President Donald Trump, who had already openly supported the new Polish president. President Trump said, "You will win." Just before the elections in Poland, the largest international conference, bringing together conservatives from around the world, including representatives of the Republican Party from the United States, was held.
Because the liberal world order was very much in part of campaigning for the liberal candidate, the leftist candidate in Poland. You know who was over there before CPAC got there? President Obama. Alex Soros. I mean, you have this cast of characters that are going around the globe pursuing this globalist agenda and basically trying to have the leftists win in these countries. And that's why CPAC has become critical and leading the way in basically unifying this international conservative movement and the MAGA movement across the globe. We need to be winning in these countries.
Karol Nawrocki won thanks to the votes of conservative voters. He won despite an extremely brutal smear campaign against him, which was aimed at pushing through Rafał Trzaskowski, the candidate of the left liberal civic platform and its foreign allies. They wanted to destroy Karol Nawrocki and his good name, hence the involvement of the services, the media, politicians, and finally Prime Minister Donald Tusk himself, which of course did not work. Nevertheless, the distaste is enormous, and it seems that all boundaries have been crossed. Karol Nawrocki will replace Andrzej Duda as president of the Republic of Poland on the 6th of August.